People? It's your boy Uncle Fred back in the house, back in the saddle one more again. Hit that like, comment, and subscribe. Become a part of Uncle Fred Sports Experience. I guarantee you will not be disappointed. As you see in the thumbnail, change gonna come. Yeah, changes are coming. Changes are coming. Cowboys, as it always is the case with when the season end, and especially if the season end in the manner that you wish, there's always some casualties. There's always some people clearing out their lockers. So some six coaches end up not getting their contracts renewed. And we're looking at Kellen Moore twisting in the wind. We're going to talk about why. And that's a power move from Mike McCarthy. We're going to tell you why that is. And it speaks to some of the dysfunctionality of the Cowboys. The team I love, but they're dysfunctional. We'll tell you why. And I've talked about it before. And then we're going to talk about Dak Prescott, the most enigmatic person person in the NFL. He is an enigma. He's a head scratcher, which leads us to understand why he's so polarizing. He is an enigma. And we'll talk about that too. And all that and a little more. You guys kind of hang with me for just a little bit. And we're going to talk about all those things, man. Let's get it.
Two times on the beat, bitch.
What's good, people? Again, Uncle Fred back in the house one more again. Just a few things, a little short video. I'm trying to make my videos short. I got to start getting those things shorter, not really trying to be on the air, be in front of you no hour like before. I try to want to keep my videos somewhere between the 8-9 minutes that my man Mr. Rome from Cowboy Fan Talk. Shout outs to Mr. Rome. And somewhere between that and then what you get when you tune into Law Nation, which is usually anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 hours. So I want to try to get it somewhere between there. So, but anyway, changes are coming. So we get the news on yesterday that the Cowboys are not renewing the contracts of 6 of their coaches. And so let's kind of look at those. We're looking at Ron Davis, which I did not know he was even on the staff, but apparently he's like the assistant head coach. And I think I read somewhere in the thing that he was like a life coach or something of that nature. I don't know. But he wasn't, his contract was not renewed. Skip Pete, which is a running backs coach. He's been there before. I want to say he was there back in the mid 2010s. And I think he left, and I want to say he was with the Rams back in like 2017 and 18 or something like that. Then he came back to us, but he's been our running backs coach. I want to say he's the uncle of Rodney Pete, if I'm not mistaken. Brother or uncle of Rodney Pete. Rodney Pete played for us too. He was a backup quarterback back in '94. Y'all probably didn't know that. But that's kind of an interesting move because that means that's the only running back coach I think that Zeke is known. So that's kind of him and Pollard. Maybe that means there's a change coming in that regard. Who knows? But I know Skip Pete is no longer. Hang on, misspell coach. Come on, Fred. You better than that, man. Anyhow, Skip Pete. Also, George Edwards, who is sort of like a defensive specialist, if you will, or consultant. I thought he and Mike and Dan Quinn went back a long ways, but it was thought that if Dan Quinn took a job at Denver or some of these other jobs or whatever, that maybe George Edwards would be the DC. You know, he's been a DC before. He's been a DC in Minnesota and want to say in Miami. You know, he's been a DC at different places. He's got a strong defensive pedigree, but his contract was not renewed. The name Leon Lett probably, strikes a chord with us, with any of you Cowboy fans. We know he was a star defensive tackle for the Cowboys back in the glory years. He won 3 Super Bowls with the Cowboys back in the 90s. He was installed as defensive line coach. Now, some of these jobs, I'm wondering why they let these guys go, because some of these positions, these areas did well. I don't know. Joe Philbin, another one that they let go. And I thought the offensive line did well. Considering the circumstances, you lose Lyle Collins and you lose Terrence Steele, lose Tyler Biotish for a good little bit of time. You bring in a Jason Peters, 40 years old, and I think we gave up the third fewest sacks in the league this year or something like that. Had a good running game most of the year. Not a whole lot of holding calls. I thought Tyler Smith developed well, but sometimes it goes like that. He was not renewed. Kyle Valero, who was supposedly a quality control, which basically means he controls the film and stuff like that, and that's what videographer in films. I think that's what they do. They go on the thing and cut up the film, and so you can see what so the people can look at the film and see what needs to be done, in terms of game planning and stuff like that. Uh, but one name conspicuously absent from the cutting room floor was Kellen Moore. So you might be thinking of Kellen Moore, well, he's a shoe and he's coming back. Not so fast, Monfrere. Because when Mike McCarthy was asked about that in the Kellen Moore's gonna be, he said, "Well, I don't know. We'll see." Who was non-committal. So even as time I'm speaking right now, it is reported by Tom Pelissero that they expect Kellen Moore to be back, but that's not been confirmed as of yet. So he's essentially twisted in the wind. So let me tell you what that really means. And when I talk about that, speaks of the dysfunctionality of the Cowboys. What that means is, now we know when Mike got the job, it was understood that the job comes. It's sort of like when you buy a house and it has certain things in it. So, no, that stays with the house. When he when he got the Cowboys job, it came with Kellen Moore. Now that's a weird thing because Mike McCarthy is an offensive coach. Now, had he been, like, for instance, back in 2007, when Wade Phillips took over, who's a defensive guru, okay, I would understand you taking on Jason Garrett as a guy that, he's been in the system, he knows all this stuff or whatever, and he knows the offensive personnel. That's somebody that you'll have continuity on the offense. I see that. I get that, okay? I wouldn't have taken it because I want to put my own guys in there. That way I know my guys are loyal to me. But that's just me. But I could understand that dynamic. But you fast forward, what is that? 13 years to 2020 when Mike McCarthy took the job. He's an offensive guy. Mike McCarthy has been calling plays and been on offensive staff since back in Montana's day. Montana was a guy he helped coach. Okay. That's how long he's been calling plays longer than Kellen Moore's been alive. All right. So he takes the job as an offensive guy with a team that already has an offensive play caller on staff. You see me giving you the stink eye on that one, right? But that's the stipulations of the job. You have to take Kellen Moore with it. Now, I would understand if Kellen Moore has been this long-standing, like, for instance, God, cannot think of his name. The defensive guru that Pittsburgh had all those years. There's the originator of the zone blitz and all that stuff. What was his name? Dick. God, cannot think of his name. But he's known as like one of the best defensive coordinators of all times. And all the great Pittsburgh defenses of the 90s and the 2000s, this guy, developed those defenses and stuff like that. And I cannot think of his name right off the top of my head. But I would imagine when Mike Tomlin took the job, it came with him. Okay. He's a legend. All right. All right. But Kellen Moore had only been calling plays 1 year when he got the job. He started calling plays in 2019. Okay. 2019. He's only been calling plays 4 years now. He's still a young play caller in this thing, right? So in order to get the job, I'm gonna have to take Jerry's people, Jerry's guy, and see what that does. See, that allows Jerry to have control, allow him to have some say because that's my guy. All right. So anytime he wants to do anything he got to let no, I got to run that through him, and which means it's get to go run through Jerry. Okay. So that's Jerry's way of controlling, a narrative because that's my guy. Now you want my job, you got to take my guy in the job. So he had to do it. So, and I've seen a lot of time throughout the seasons that there's been some friction between because there's a different way that Kellen wants the game to be called versus what Mike McCarthy wants the game to be called. It just seems to me that a lot of that is some of the reasons behind some of the struggles that the offense have had this year with Dak Prescott. It has to be because you got a total dysfunctionality in the play calling and offensive philosophies and stuff like that. So you got that going on, and so he's twisted in the wind. He might be retained, he might not, but I guarantee you this: these coaches that got let go, these were some of the people that were not Mike McCarthy's guys. So maybe at this point, Mike McCarthy has done enough back-to-back 12-win season and a playoff win has done enough to say, hey, I would do even better if you let me get my guys that know the stuff I want to do. I can have my philosophy installed. So that means Kellen Moore is kind of like, ooh, am I next? And we don't, with the next couple of days, we'll know if they're going to retain Kellen Moore or not. All right. Now, I like Kellen Moore, and then I don't like Kellen Moore. And I'll tell you what, I don't know, my eyes are itching. It must be allergy season or something. I like Kellen Moore because he's young and he's brash, but sometimes he does a little too much. Sometimes he forgets the running game. Sometimes he gets pass happy. Okay. And if you look at the game Sunday, he called too many of them 5-6 yard routes. That shoot, don't let me tell it. Don't let me tell it. Let me tell you what uh um what Dan what's his name? David Carr had to say. He had something to say about this also. If I can find the article, I had it right here. And if I can just find it. And basically what he was saying that the offense was too vanilla. And I cannot find it. Golly, I can't find it. All right, well, never mind. I can't find it. I lost it that quick. I had it earlier, and it was basically saying that the Cowboys were way too vanilla in the game Sunday, and a lot of the routes he saw that he's sitting up in the stands and he saw what the routes were, and he don't even play. And he said, I don't even play defense, and I see that these routes were a little predictable and stuff like that. So, but anyway, nah, I don't see it. It's not. I don't have it. Oh yeah, dude. Here it is. 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 I found it right here. Um, yeah, here we go. I'll let you hear what he says. Wow, Apple. That's
picture.
So she got an ad. Got an ad.
It's amazing.
All right. But anyhow, when this finished buffering, I want you to hear what David Carr had to say about the Cowboys offense. You know, like everybody seems to think.
Yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do? Elephant in the room? Are you gonna move Mike McCarthy? You're gonna get Sean Payton? You're gonna trade Dak? Like, what's the end game here, right? So you don't do any of those things because I think that you're in a better position than you were last year. You played the same team, and they got beat down last year. It was a physical beating, and they were able to match the physicality this year, which is what I saw. That was a good thing. Defensive structure wise, they got some good linebackers. We were talking about that earlier. They can fly to the ball. They can stop the run. There are little things. There's precision. The precision element for me is what's missing, and you kind of hinted at it with the penalties. I think there's some precise things that led to the interceptions. I think there's some precision things in timing. You heard Dak talk about I was late on the stop route. That stop route was the throw that he made to the left that the DB ended up making a better route than the receiver. And so the ball was late. He was late on the interception that ended up getting turned over to Fred Warner that was tipped. So there's some things that you can clean up, and Dak, I think he'll clean them up. But I think McCarthy, I think they all have to kind of get in there together and find out where those deficiencies lie. Yeah, it is in the pre-snap stuff. It is some of those penalties that took points off the board. It is some of those precision things in the passing game. I think, while I'm looking at it, I'm watching the film, it looks a little vanilla, right? Some of the routes. I don't play defense. I don't play defense like you. I don't play defense like the San Francisco 49ers. And I can tell you what some of these routes are before they snap the ball. So if I know that, right, the 49ers knew it. Some of these other defenses are jumping these routes, are able to see that. So you really got to dig, and it's not one guy. It's not just Dak. It's not just the play calling. It's everybody, and they got to get some better players. You look at the contrast on the other side of the ball, the 49ers, they're loaded, man. They got playmakers everywhere. Yeah. Cowboys got CD. Pollard was out. Zeke's not the guy. Like, you got to look at that as well to help Dak out and give him some more playmakers.
Leading up to the...
So, now I hadn't heard that before today, but they pretty much said exactly what I said the day before yesterday on my video. We go into the game, basically we got CeeDee Lamb and we got Tony Pollard. Those are our only explosive guys on offense. And the routes, the play calling was vanilla. They never challenged them down the field. Dak was, and I'm not letting Dak off the hook. Dak was late on a lot of throws. He late on that stop or out route. Like I said, that's supposed to be 1, 2, 3, boom, ball out. And he was late, double hit. And by the time the defender realized it was going to be a stop or an out route, he ran the route better than Gallup did, and made the interception. So, but anyhow, and so that just and that tells a lot about Gallup too. And you're talking about the precision. He did not run that route well and stuff. And see, these are the things that I'm talking about with Kellen. Because believe it or not, Kellen Moore, what the offensive coordinator is? The offensive coordinator is the head coach of the offense. He's not just a guy that just calls the plays. He is the head coach of the offense. What does that mean? That means when something's going wrong with the offense, they answer to him. If Michael Gallup was late on a route or ran a route, lazy, when he comes to the sideline, he should have been like, headset off. Mike, what the heck was that? What are you doing there? Explain to me what you was doing. If Dak is late on his throws or weak, because this is what I've been noticing with Dak. Because I made a video back when they played Houston. This video going long, and I wanted to go already, but it's a lot of stuff to talk about. When we played the game, when we played Houston, we barely won that game. That was a drive in the second quarter in that game when the Cowboys had the Texans had scored. It was 7-7, and the Cowboys made 14-7. They got to stop. Okay, and then they had the ball and they had a chance to go up by 2 touchdowns, and it was like 3rd and 9 or something like that. Dak took the snap and he didn't set his feet. He just kind of flung the ball out to the left to Tony Pollard, who had leaked out on the flat on the left side. And the way and with his mechanics and stuff the ball just kind of like tailed down, and he had to go down and get it. And by the time he got it and picked it up, the defenders was right on him. If Dak sits back and sets his shoulder and snaps that ball out there, Tony Pollard makes the first guy miss probably because he catches it in stride and probably gets that first down. But because he had to go down 2 hops to pick it up because Dak basically just kind of like lollygagged it out there. He didn't get the first down. Now, when he came to the sideline, Kellen should have been in his grill. Dak, what are you doing? Well, what kind of throw was that? I kind of thought because Dak and Kellen are like contemporaries. I think Kellen only maybe 2 years older than Dak. That maybe they like buds, like partners and whatever. That he doesn't hold Dak accountable when he do stuff. When he throws a lazy pass like Dak, what you see? Or he throws in the cover. What kind of coverage did you see there? I don't kind of see that going on with Dak. See, remember a couple of years ago, Dak was doing all the little hip thrust things before games because he knew he had read that and they had gone over it that if you get looseness in your hips, you can get more torque on the ball when you fling it. So he's going down with his headphone, he's throwing his hips and throwing his hips as he's throwing it, like that. And people laughed at that. But that was Dak working on his craft. And see, you don't never see him doing that no more since he got his money and then you don't see him doing that now. So yeah, Kellen Moore, one of the things he has to do when there's penalties, when guys is false starting and stuff, Kellen Moore need to be getting on them. They answer to him. He's the head coach of the offense. And I don't think that they was really they were just saying the preciseness wasn't there. That falls more not only on the quarterback. Now, being a seasoned veteran like Dak is, he should be, an extension of Kellen Moore. So, that's just my own personal opinion on that. But so yeah, and when the offense don't do as well as it should be doing, and of course Mike McCarthy is using this to like, hey, this thing ain't working. And you let me get my dude in here, and we can, because it's like, look, if I'm going down, I'm gonna go down with my guy. I ain't gonna go down with your guy. I'm gonna go down with my guy in there. So with them not doing as well this year, Mike kind of got the gun in his hand now. That's why some of these coaches are left that was like not his pickings, but some of the guys that he had to accept. And Kellen Moore is like the ace that he had to accept. So it might be that Kellen is not retained, and he'll have to get his own guys. I don't know if it's going to be Darrell Bevel or if it's going to be Schottenheimer or God, what's the guy's name? I can't think of the other guy's name. He's got a son that plays at LSU. I can't think of his name. But yeah, it could be one of those dudes that could be the offensive coordinator if Kellen Moore is not retained. But he'll probably be retained. But there's have to be some changes made. So look for changes to be made in the offensive system this year when it comes around, because the way they have been doing it works well in the regular season, but when you get against premium talent in more talented teams, it don't work as well. So we're gonna see how that works. So now we're gonna talk about Rayne Dakota Prescott. Rayne Dakota Prescott is an enigma. He is an enigma to me. Okay, what is an enigma? Enigma means it's something to have you scratching your head. You like doing this right here. All right. He's an enigma. Okay, because he's so polarized. You ask 10 people about what they think about him, you might get 10 answers. And they're gonna be on the extreme. Oh man, he's a great quarterback. He's good, or he's garbage, and he's polarizing. But I think it's due to how the Cowboys, because Tony Romo was polarizing. All right. So when I talk about Dak being polarizing, what do I mean? He's an athletic enigma. He's terrible, right? Right? He's terrible. We saw the 2 interceptions, right? He's terrible, right? See, when we say a guy's a terrible quarterback, you know what I think about? I think about a guy like Zach Wilson that can't seem to get out of his own way, and then he can't get an offense moving. He's throwing interceptions all over the place. He can't, that's where I think when I think of a terrible quarterback. Okay, I don't think of a guy that I don't know, leads a top 5 offense. I don't think that's a terrible quarterback, or a guy that leads a team in touchdowns or whatever in the NFL. Oh, you think I'm making that up? Look at the thumbnail. since week 7, and you can thank Colin Cowherd for this because I did my research and I saw it on Colin Cowherd this morning, and I went back and looked and I thought, oh, dang, he's right. He's right. Since week 7 in the NFL, which that's the week he came back from his thumb surgery, until last Sunday, which from week 7 until the last pass that Dak Prescott threw in 2022, Dak Prescott led the league in touchdowns, 28. Okay, a lot of other quarterbacks in the league at the same time. You got Mahomes, you got Josh Allen, you got Kirk Cousins, you got all these guys. You got Aaron Rodgers, you got Tom Brady, you got some big time quarterbacks. A lot of these guys going to the Hall of Fame. But since week 7, the week he came back from thumb surgery, Dak Prescott threw 28 touchdowns, which is more than anybody in the NFL. So that's great, right? I mean, he's a top 5 quarterback, right? Yeah, keep reading. Because in that same period of time, he also threw 16 interceptions. Also more than anybody in the league. Wow. Now, good Dak, he went 9-5 in them 14 weeks. In that span of time, the team was number 1 in red zone scoring, and I think number 3 overall in scoring. I think they averaged like 30 points a game. And the only guys that won more games than him in that span was Joe Burrow, because I think they've won like 8, 9 in a row or something like that, and Patrick Mahomes. Okay, now let me give you another bit of something. Now, we also know that Dak had a reduced roster this year, right? No number 2 receiver. Shake-ups in the offensive line, a lot of rumblings and shaking there. But did you know that the Cowboys is one of only 3 teams that won 12 games or more in last year and this year? Them, the Buffalo Bills, and the Kansas City Chiefs and the Cowboys are the only 3 teams that had back-to-back 12-win seasons and back-to-back playoff berths and that sort of thing. Okay. So there's obviously some good there, because it's not like, oh, the defense was just shutting people out and they won in at 16-3. No, they kind of led the league in scoring. And it wasn't like, they was getting pick sixes and all this kind of stuff. No, he was leading drives. So what is it? Because it's not like he's a terrible quarterback or they wouldn't win but 4 or 5 games. They won 12. They won 12 games in back-to-back seasons. And you almost feel like they should have won more than 12. Because I feel like they probably this year would have probably, the Green Bay game and the Jacksonville game are games they should have won. They probably should have been 14-3. All right? So I don't know. And see, and he's so easy for people to want to just throw him out. I see all these memes of people throwing him out. I'll tell you about the meme with, about I think it was Beverly Hills Cop. They was throwing him out of the building, throwing him through the glass window. And I'm saying, okay, you think you can just put anybody in there and replace? It ain't like our roster is just overwhelming. So somehow he's able to galvanize these guys and win 12 games 2 years in a row. Now, that's some good teams. The Cincinnati Bengals went to the Super Bowl last year, but they only won 10 games. 49ers went to the NFC Championship game last year against the Rams. They only won 10 games last year. They won 14 this year, 13 this year, but they only won 10 last year, right? So Dak's able to consistently win, 10, 11, 12 games every season, right? But then there's plays in there like, Dak, really? Did you not see that? So he is an enigma. He leaves you scratching your head. Or you can say he teases you. He does all of that stuff. It's all right. Dak's a great quarterback. Dak's a terrible quarterback. You be right. Because on some days, he's one guy, and the other days, he's this guy. All right? What we got to do, what Kellen's got to do is get more of the good Dak and eliminate the bad Dak. And some of that is going to be insisting on, look, let's just be real. Dak does not have the arm talent or the athletic talent of a Lamar Jackson, doesn't have the arm talent of a Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, or a Patrick Mahomes, any of those types of things, all right? And don't have the intelligence or the smarts of a Tom Brady, all right? But what he does have, he's got some physical ability, and he's a big, strong guy, and he's got some intelligence, or whatever, not on the level of Tom Brady's, but he has to have everything. When I say perfect, I mean he doesn't have room to lollygag or not do his thing right. What are you saying, Uncle Fred? Well, what I'm saying is Dak cannot throw off his back foot and throw a pass right. He has to have his feet set, shoulder width apart, shoulder square, arm back, perfect follow through. Those are the things he has to have. If he doesn't do those things, the ball will sail or it won't reach or a short hop. Okay, he has to make sure his fundamentals are on point. See, Mahomes, he don't even have to have his feet on the ground. He can fling a 30-yard out and it be on the money because he has arm talent. Same thing with Josh Allen. You may even say the same thing with Justin Herbert. They don't have to have, their arm talent and their physical strength will allow them to Patrick Mahomes was a shortstop, so he can sidearm that thing, because and a lot of time when you making that throw from the shortstop position, that guy running the second is sliding into you, so you got to jump up in the air and fling that thing to first base or the second base, the relay to go to first base. So a lot of times you got to make that throw off the ground. So he has that athletic ability and talent that Dak doesn't have. I never read nowhere where he played baseball or anything like that. So he don't have those abilities. So in order for him to be excellent, his footwork needs to be impeccable. His shoulders need to be impeccable. His release has to be impeccable. The timing and everything has to be impeccable. He can't shirk on the details. He has to pay attention to the details. Now, some of these other guys, they can I can just shrug that and still throw it 30 yards on the dime. Dak can't do that. And I think Kellen has allowed Dak to get sloppy on his footwork and sloppy on his techniques, sloppy on his fundamentals. That's why I'm saying the buck stops with Kellen Moore. He is in charge of Dak. Now, obviously, there's talent there because they're scoring 30 points a game. Right? Scoring 30. All right? But then he's throwing the lazy passes over the middle. And then when a CeeDee Lamb runs behind a safety instead of in front of him, then what Dak's expect, he's supposed to light into him when they come to the sideline. Dude, what was you seeing there? See? No accountability. As the head coach of the offense, I expect you, Kellen Moore, to get that stuff cleaned up. Because the buck falls with you. You're the head of that. Okay? Because at the end of the day, you can say all you want about, we can just get rid of Dak. We'll trade Dak. You do realize if they cut Dak right now, we'd be on the hook for like $85, $90 million next year? You want to eat that much money? Or what you can do is try to fix Dak by working on his fundamentals and getting him some weapons. I hear DeAndre Hopkins it could be had for the right price. I hear Brandon Cooks is still wanting to be wanting to be out of Houston. Okay, those will be very good pickups to add to our receiving room, and I expect Michael Gallup to be back close to his old self next year. Sometimes them ACLs take 2 years. Okay, sometimes they do. It's different with different people. But anyway, man, that's we got it's got to get, because you look, we're gonna have Dak for the next 2 years. Okay, that's just gonna happen because the way the contract is, man. Maybe he should have signed for less or whatever, but fine. But we can't cry over spilled milk. It is what it is. But it ain't like you daggum missing the playoffs. You hit 12 wins both years. But I know as Cowboy fans, we want more. But see, I somehow think, and we couldn't ready to get out this video. And when I look at the moves that the Cowboys didn't make, I feel like sometimes they feel like, man, we win 9, 10 games, that's enough. Because those people, man, that like to complain about their issues, their aches, their pains, and the things that they got to go through and stuff. And then you find somebody that say, hey, no, if you just do this right, it'll fix it. They don't want to do it because that's too cumbersome. Because they want to continue to complain because that gets your attention. I think the Cowboys are kind of like that. Long as they just good enough to keep your dander lathered up, they're good. 10, 11 wins. Because, oh, man, we was almost there. But if you win the whole thing, it's like, oh, what we got left to talk about? We kind of won the thing. Kind of like Forrest Gump. I don't know if y'all ever watched the movie Forrest Gump, but he just started running. He said, I just began running, ran down the Greenbow, ran to the other end of town, found himself running all the way across the country, right? Then when he ran as far as he could run, he's like, I guess I'll just go home now. He done everything now. What was it left to do? So I think the Cowboys kind of keep that bone, kind of keep pulling that bone away from you because they kind of they want to win, but don't want to win too much because they want to keep us at a fervor, want to keep us, just a little bit agitated, a little bit mad, but kind of happy, but a little bit mad. Because if we win the whole thing, then it's like, oh, Stephen A. won't have nothing to talk about. Shannon Sharp won't have nothing to talk about. None of that stuff. It's like that the people make money on the misery of the Cowboys. They almost got there. They were right there, and it just eluded them. I don't know that for a fact. That's just my speculation. I don't know. But anyway, man, I just thought I'd share that with you. Coaches leaving, Kellen Moore twisting in the wind. Like I said, I think that's a ploy by Mike McCarthy. They're like, yeah, Wonder Boy, you're going to twist in the wind. But if you do get your job back, it's going to be some changes. It's going to be some changes made. And I think they're going to go more to a West Coast offense, more of some of the short passes, but not the button hook routes. And more throws to the backside of the backfield, that sort of thing. Because I don't think we use Tony Pollard nearly enough this year. Okay. Now, going back to that Skip Pete thing, and we get ready to close this video. Remember, I said Skip Pete's leaving. That's the only running back coach that Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott knew. Now, it's been one thing I've read on some of the threads that they may be just going to jettison both of them guys and just start fresh. And I hear they've been looking at this kid down in Texas, Bijan Robinson. Oh, man. Ooh, he's something else. He want to be a Cowboy. He a Texas Longhorn. There's a kind of a connection between the Texas Longhorns and the Cowboys and whatnot. And may just get him and just start all over, So maybe that's why, start with a new running back coach, new regime, new running back, new all that stuff. And Mike McCarthy doing his own thing the way he wanted. So I'm going to do this thing my way. So that's kind of the thinking. So I don't know, man. We'll see, man. But leave a comment in the comment section and comment and subscribe, become a part of the Uncle Fred Sports Experience. I will be back with you tomorrow evening. We're gonna do the picks on a pick'em show with me and my cousin TK, and we're gonna pick the championship game: Cincinnati at Kansas City, and then San Francisco at Philadelphia. We're gonna pick them games and pick the Super Bowl participants. We're gonna do all that stuff tomorrow. So you guys check in with us about 6:00 tomorrow evening. We're gonna do our little pick'em show. But that's all we got. God bless. We'll catch you guys tomorrow.